This is Elevate the Outcast. We are back 100% full fold. Had a lot going on, so I had to take a break. And a lot of it was dealing with a lot of mental and stress issues, trying to get things together. Just wanted to say, I'm glad to be back. And, well, you'll be seeing a lot more of me on this thing. But I do have a special guest today. We got my boy, my brother, Brian Seth. We're about to talk about some of the deeper conversations that we've had the past couple of days, dealing with like life, pretty much. So we're gonna get into it. Hope y'all enjoy. Like, share, comment, whatever. Just enjoy yourself. If y'all got anything to say, the chat room is open.
Yes, sir. I'm with it. Let's go.
Man, it's been what, years since we did, what was it, back in high school? Did all that stuff back in high school.
I remember nothing in high school. Sorry. But you talking about with the step team and shit like that?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. That's what, sophomore year? So it's been since 07, 08. Good damn, like 15, 16 years? That's crazy.
Yeah, I can't believe that time has sped up like that, man.
Yeah, waits for no man.
Not at all.
Waits for no man. But, life is cool. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful journey. So I think every point should be appreciated. And I definitely have that mantra. I appreciate every moment that I'm blessed with, because life is a gift.
I agree with that. Can't help but agree with that. You know, the crazy thing is that, you know, since we said that time waits for no man, when it comes down to it, what do you believe that when it comes to having time left, how do you feel about it? Like, do you believe that we still have X amount of time, or is time starting to catch up to us?
Well, I think none of us know how much time we got. So I think the conversation should be shifted, from people always worrying about how many moments do I have left versus creating moments along the way. You know what I mean? Because then that'll put you like in this psyche where you always feel like you have more time. Yeah. And last year was very trying for me because I lost somebody very close to me. And that was just one of those moments that just reminds you we might not have that time. So this thing I'm procrastinating on, this person I haven't texted that I might want to text, that relationship that you might want to mend with your parents or your siblings or friends, you should probably do that shit now, because, tomorrow isn't promised. So I definitely live more so from moment to moment, and just enjoying the experiences along the way, man. I think that's kind of the journey.
That is true. That is true. We got nothing but the journey. And, watching time fly, and, those who have kids, watching them grow up right in front of us.
It's wild.
Especially me on a personal note. Man, watching my son grow from the little small dude that I saw jumping at the TV because we was watching some old Jabberwocky's dance videos.
It's lit.
Now seeing him being pretty much independent, like he wants to enjoy his time on his day and all that, and it's right. Weird because he's also in middle school.
Oh man, wow! So, time is flying. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it makes me feel, we ain't gonna talk about that. I already lost my hair.
Well, salute to you, man, for being a good father. I think that doesn't get saluted enough today. So, hey, I see you. Keep doing it, man. That's probably the most important job you'll ever hold. You know what I'm saying? And you, from the outside looking in, you're doing a good job, man.
I appreciate that. Definitely you're trying, especially with this economy, man. Everything's skyrocketing. Good God. Eggs now on drug deals.
Everybody jumps to eggs. That's facts though. Eggs are expensive as fuck.
It makes me want to go and buy a farm just to...
Right. I'm going to start buying the chicken. Start getting eggs. I'm going straight to the source.
Being like a drug dealer on the side of the road, like, hey, yo, we got these eggs right now.
Third-party eggs. That's crazy.
But I mean, that's time, because like we went from, what was it, the crisis dealing with gas, you know, going up. Now that's slowly coming back down. Now we're dealing with eggs and everything else going up, but gas is going down.
Yeah, well, they're pushing the electric vehicles.
Nah, I can't do electric vehicles.
I want a Tesla, but somebody made a very interesting point. You know, when everything's electric, basically the government's going to have the power to cut your vehicle off at any moment. And that's kind of scary.
That's worse than a repo, man. Yeah,
they can just shut your shit down. And you know, a lot of these cars have chips, so they can track you. So with the electric cars, they can track you even easier. You know what I mean? So there is a lot of concern for sure. But that's why it's always important, I think, keep one traditional car that uses gas, and then get another electric car or something.
In facts. And you know, we sat there and talked, or you made a good point. You said that keep things traditional, but you looking at it now, everybody kept talking about how, oh, they're gonna chip our phones and all that stuff.
Yeah.
They never thought about the cars. They never thought about the thing that we use every single day.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with technology. You know, I think we've made so many leaps and jumps in technology in the last 20, 30 years. That's almost unbelievable. Like, if you would have told somebody in the 80s or the 70s that we would have a self-driving car, like, that's on some, like, Jetsons shit. So to have that many technological jumps in such a short time period, like, these motherfuckers are walking around with Walkmans and stuff, and stereos, and people still had record players. Not by choice, because that's all they had, right? So, the evolution has been so fast, I don't think anybody could have really predicted any of this, to be honest.
And that is true. Especially, you know, when we think about it, people did used to walk around with stereos, like sitting on their shoulder, just walking around. And then you have, since we're both dancers.
I'm a dancer. That's crazy.
Being modest. You know, they used to just throw down mats and wherever they were at, you know, set the stereo down and go ham. Now it's all gotten to just being in the living room, doing a quick one, and then just walking off.
Y'all putting those AirPods in and going ham.
Not even AirPods, just throwing on TikTok and calling it a day.
Oh yeah. Shout out to TikTok.
Being big. Very, very big. That was actually something I wanted to bring up.
Shoot.
You know, we were talking earlier before we got on here, dealing with like a lot of the mental health of relationships and stuff, right?
Yeah.
I never stopped to think about it, but you know, we deal with a lot of mental health awareness. Right? Why not think back of the concept behind men's mental health?
Okay.
So you have the relationships that we've been in, but we also, outside of, you know, dating somebody, it's, you know, families, business partners, teachers. It can go all the way up to being even your pastor at your church. You know, nobody ever stops and thinks about that. They just all of a sudden assume it's just relationships.
Yeah, that's true. Well, relationships can span beyond just romantic relationships. So I think people do assume it's I mean, mostly, yeah, they assume it's a romantic thing, but it can be, yeah, the relationships you have with your family, your friends, your peers, that plays a part too, I feel like.
Yeah, yeah, that plays a big part. Because if you're really sitting there analyzing everything, like, it's not about a one-sided situation here. Everybody's got their dirt, but
Yeah,
it's all how it's presented.
right.
So I feel like if it's presented in a, oh, well, I'm gonna walk around with a chip on my shoulder, and every relationship I get in,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna feel some kind of way about it.
Mm.
Like, I trust you, but I don't trust you.
Well, that's being jaded. It's called being jaded. Now, people have the right to be more defensive or selective of who they open up to, but I spoke about this on one of my last podcasts, the idea that a lot of people would rather not plug into the game, quote unquote, than to plug into the game and lose. But I think plugging in is kind of like the first important step, because if you never plug in, you'll never experience anything.
Yeah.
And then, like, what is the journey if you're not experiencing anything? Then that goes back to life is like a roller coaster. Sometimes you're on the dips and sometimes you're on the highs. You have to be able to, like, have appreciation at both points.
Yes. And I feel like there's not enough appreciation.
Yeah. Like, people are going through some fucked up shit. We all have to an extent, right? But
yeah,
like, I always say, life isn't finite. If you wake up, you have another opportunity to change either how you feel, how you think, X, Y, and Z.
yeah, yeah. But you get those who get stuck in that mindset.
Yeah.
And the only thing you can do is just, I guess, the lack of better words, be there when you can. Or when they ask for it, I guess.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't ask, though. So I think it's such a... I do believe in community. You need people that you can bounce off of, get support from, X, Y, and Z, 1,000%. But I also think so much of this journey is just soul searching or figuring out yourself, figuring out what makes you tick, what triggers you, what are you looking for? Because sometimes you can tell by a person's actions that they're seemingly missing something. So I think a lot of life is a single player game, to be honest. Like, you have to figure that out before you can even be effective within a community. Because each person has to come to the community as whole as possible.
That is true.
Yeah.
I never looked at it like that, I'm gonna be honest with you. Because usually when we talk about, like, being a community, they look at it as, okay, well, what are you doing as far as dealing with the community?
Yeah.
It's never what you are already doing, it's what you can do more of.
Yeah. And what you're doing doesn't have to necessarily be a physical thing or, like, it can be, maybe it's just how you interact with people, the energy you bring. Maybe you motivate people. Maybe you're this for that person. You're the person people can talk to. That's still an important role. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be like a job title necessarily, or the preacher, the teacher, the doctor, the lawyer. It can just be the dude who, is easy to talk to, helps people get through their shit,
Yeah. But not a lot of people, like you said, not a lot of people ask for it.
That's true.
So, I mean, I don't know, all this stuff is just like a weird, heavy concept. Because, I mean, like I told you before, dealing with my past situations and all of it coming to light made me kind of crash.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's why I kind of stopped being on the podcast and stopped dancing and all that.
Right.
But I guess you got to find a way to motivate yourself to get back up on your feet.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because I hate to say it, but we are having to go through a lot of mental battles by ourselves because nobody else can help us.
Well, as men, historically, especially black men, we've never really had a space to say we're not okay. If you look at our parents' generation and the generations before that, it's always been, boys don't cry, suck it up and get the job done. Which I do think there is a percentage of that needs to be applied.
Yeah.
But I think why today's generation is really special in this sense is we're raising awareness for those moments that you're not okay. And to say it's okay to not be okay. Because ultimately, I don't think you can be as productive as you need to be if you're not okay. If we're sent here to do something from God, you won't be able to do that if you're not okay. That's how I feel like.
Yeah. No, I agree with you for real.
Yeah.
Because, and not to get on a whole religious point here.
Not good, man.
But I was listening to a pastor on YouTube. I'm not sure if you're
Mike Todd?
Yeah.
I love Mike Todd. Shout out to Mike Todd, man.
He's really good. But he made a point in one of his sermons saying that God would only point you in the right direction, but it's up to you whether you come off the lane that you're in and start traveling the right direction.
That's good. Yeah, that's facts.
And I feel as though even though as we deliberately veer off from the right direction, whatever step that we take to try to get back or have to weave through obstacles to get back, he's always going to be there to just yank that cord like a kid on a leash.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say this. I do believe in God, 1,000%. Let me start with this. I believe God is within all of us, right? So even if you take biblical reference, we're children of God. That means that there's godliness within all of us.
Right.
So I think sometimes that tugging is our inner self saying we know what we should be doing. Sometimes we just clash with that and do the opposite. So I don't think necessarily God is tugging us with a string. I think sometimes we're tugging ourselves with the string, which goes back to that self-journey, figuring out yourself, your wants, your needs, and how you want to proceed and carry out your duty while you're here in this, earthly form.
Dang.
I do this, man. Shout out to Unaffiliated the podcast. Give me a follow. Share on it.
If y'all don't know already, he does run his own, so y'all go check it out for real. It you would not be disappointed. We'll put it like that. But on a 100% note, you said you got some new projects coming up too.
Yeah, well, we got hella content on our podcast, so we have stuff lined up for the next 2 months probably. So check us out. Dance-wise, I've been in a space where I'm kind of re-inspired. I've fallen in love with dance again recently.
Yeah.
And I feel like I haven't felt that love in almost a decade probably. So now I'm just kind of creatively in a really good space. So I'm more active just because I kind of act off of creativity versus just going through the motions. Yeah.
And I don't think I told you this, but here lately I've been waking up early, 3 o'clock in the morning early.
Yeah.
Because my brain just won't stop.
Crazy hour. We're going to get into the paranormal podcast here in a minute, but alright.
Hide your kids.
Yeah,
It's going to get spooky. No, I'm good. It's just, my creativity. If I don't do something creative, then I cannot sleep.
Right.
Here lately I've been drawing.
That's good.
And a lot of my drawings are just random. And I think of it and I just start going.
There you go. That's dope.
And then I fall asleep, and then when I wake up, I look down, and I'm like, when did I do this? Because it gets wiped from my memory while I'm asleep because I just don't know how it happens.
It's kind of like subconsciously
Yeah.
creating.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's dope. You're
Never,
an artist, then. That's what artists do.
and I feel like that's where majority of my motivation to start this back up has come from.
Yeah.
And
Just creating.
well, not just creating, just being able to send a message out to people.
Okay. Well, what's the message that you would be sending to people right
To get up and elevate, because with all the craziness going on in the world, like, you know, we had the killing of Tyree.
now? Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, rest in peace to him, and prayers up to him and his family. And then we have all the situation going on overseas. We have like people stressing out about every and any little thing that's going on, dealing with skyrocketing prices and how they're going to make it to the next job and this and that.
Yeah.
Where's the elevation? Where's the uplifting? It's all just slowly vanished.
I feel you. It's like across media and stuff, you never hear any positive things.
Exactly, especially with mental health. Like, it's literally, if you look on Facebook,
Yeah.
half the posts on there saying, "Hey, I'm taking a break for a mental situation," or
Yeah.
"I'm going through this mentally, and I just need to find somebody to talk to," or something like that. But it's like one thing bouncing off another, and there's no really uprightening to people anymore.
Yeah, no, that's real.
So I feel as though this was doing good at first when I first started this out, and I was getting hits and all of that. That's great. I didn't care about it. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Right.
But when I got to the store one day, and I kid you this not, it was me and one of my boys. We was at the store in line waiting to buy our stuff, and this couple runs up to me and is like, "Hey, you run that podcast, don't you, that's on Facebook?"
That's dope.
And I was like, "Yeah." And they were like, "Yeah, Elevate, right?" It's like, "Yeah." It was like, man, the messages that you send of what's out here that nobody knows about is very positive and upbringing, and we watched every episode that you had.
That's dope.
And I was like, I never thought that it reached that point. But when I left, I felt like I was in a good standing. Got back, and something told me, just stop for a minute. Just stop. So I did. So I took a break, went through all that craziness, and that's when the little voice in the back of my head was like, "Hey, you can start it back up again. Just know it was not about the publicity.
Yeah.
It was about the message." And that's why I'm back.
Okay.
So,
Welcome back.
like we were saying earlier, sometimes you gotta take a mental break. Sometimes you gotta back off.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Don't be afraid to back away from the painting. You know what I'm saying? But if you really care about that painting, eventually you'll come back and you'll finish it. You know. So, especially if you're in it to spread the message for the vibes, not so much the business side of it, there's no problem with that. And I think that's the part, I guess, I'm kind of running into is like we're low key like operating as a business now. You know what I mean? So like even though same thing with dance, it's literally the same exact premise, right? Yeah. With dance, It's all fun. I love it. Passion. Boom, boom, boom. When I turned 17, I became a quote-unquote professional dancer. And now this becomes, how do I juggle this love, this passion, this want to inspire people with something that's now, like a form of income, like it's a job. So finding that balance, even with the podcast, I know for myself, I had to learn how to still produce even when I didn't feel like it.
Right.
And even if we take it out of business, even for inspirational purpose, what if somebody out there, for me, I'll use me as an example, still needs to hear what I've been saying? You know what I'm saying? So for me now, my biggest thing is to just stay consistent, because even if I don't feel good, I want to be able to still push something out that might
help somebody
or show somebody, hey, what you're going through isn't rare. It's a lot of people go through this, and sometimes people need to hear that, because when people go through shit, one of the first thoughts is always, why me? You know what I'm saying? Why does my life suck this much? It's like, a lot of people go through this shit, and if you hear more and more of that, you'll have more motivation and belief that you can come out of that.
Yeah, you'll be able to do more with it. And that's like that's a big thing, like, and you're spitting real. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, you're being real, because nobody sees it in that light. Mm-hmm. The only person that sees it is you.
It's true. Yeah. It's your journey.
And you don't know who you're impacting. Like, I wasn't expecting that couple to come up.
Yeah.
So you never know who wants to, or who needs to hear, not wants, but who needs to hear what you have to say.
And that, first of all, that's one of the most rewarding things essentially we're broadcasters to an extent, right? So
right.
As somebody who's going on the waves, the radio waves, the podcast waves, and sending messages, that's very rewarding to hear people benefited from conversation, right?
Right.
On top of that, for me, it's a reminder of how powerful our words are. It's like when these mics come on, even though like on my show we joke around a lot, we say a lot of really crazy and funny shit sometimes. But then the other percentage of the show is really deep and important conversations. So it's like a nice mixture, right?
Right.
But it's always with the idea of whatever we say on here and whatever goes out has power. Right. So we have to be careful with the power that we're wielding, right? But at the same time, you might have to touch something that's uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Even if not for the listeners, maybe it might be uncomfortable for you.
Yeah.
But that's part of the relationship with the listener is, hey, you trust me, I trust you. Let's give to each other, you know?
Yeah, and that's real. Because if you're gonna eventually be where we're at, like, you're a guest on mine, and it's like we're just having an everyday conversation. Mm-hmm. Because, what they don't know off camera is that we have these talks all the time.
Right.
But now that we're on camera, it's just natural.
It's just the camera, man.
That's
microphones and shades and drinks.
And just relaxing like, boys do together. It's just normal. Yeah. And I feel as though, like, that's where the uplifting needs to be. Mm-hmm. What's the word I'm looking for? Self-confidence is built. And I think we have trouble building our own self-confidence. Mm-hmm. Because we're so used to seeing it on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, here, there, blah, blah, blah. But we don't actually feel it ourselves.
Self-confidence, and I'm going to throw in, and hopefully this is the right term to use, self-efficacy.
Yes.
Which means I myself know that I can do this. I know I can do this. I have what it takes. I possess this thing to achieve this thing. which, I mean, it kind of flirts with confidence, right? But also that I am efficient enough to do these things. So it's definitely a mixture of the two.
And, even if it's not the perfect mix,
Yeah.
at least you're able to get yourself out there, and do something that nobody else can do. I guess that's the lack of better terms with it.
Yeah.
Because, just because you're uncomfortable doing it doesn't mean that it's not going to help somebody else get the confidence to try to do it.
And it doesn't mean, and let me just be straight for the record, let me just set this straight. Discomfort does not mean bad all the time. A lot of times discomfort is a great thing, because that means you're breaking out of your comfort zone. You're venturing into new territory. And new territory is where growth happens.
Yes.
I've never grown in something or with a part of myself if I was never uncomfortable. So I promote discomfort. If you're in something that's uncomfortable, now if it's toxic and destructive, that's different.
Well, that's a whole different story.
But if it just puts you in a different realm of just comfort, it could be good for you.
Yeah.
So stop running from discomfort. Discomfort might be your breakthrough.
And it'll definitely help everybody else, I tell you that.
Yeah. For sure.
I know I wasn't comfortable being in front of none of this.
Yeah.
Like even
Takes
when
a
we
while.
started dancing, I wasn't in front of.
It takes a while.
But it makes us who we are. It makes us bring out who we are more. Let me put it like that.
Right.
Because, you can say you're a dancer. You can say you're a podcaster. You can say you're an artist. You can go on the lines of saying, hey, I'm the astronaut that landed on the moon. But at the end of the day, if you don't internally believe that yourself, how's anybody else supposed to?
It's a good point. I think I'm at the point now, though, where I don't really seek validation from other people, almost at all. Now, we all do to a percentage. Nobody on earth can say they're at 0% of not caring what anybody says, right?
I think that'll be a problem if they did.
Well, I don't know. I don't think we would even have somebody to be able to have that case study on, right?
True.
But I've definitely had, the pendulum definitely shifted at a point in my life, probably a couple years ago, where it was why do I care about people's perception of me? Because, get this, let's say in life, how many people do you think you know? I know it's a crazy question, but hundreds maybe, 800, 200, 300.
Somewhere around there.
Whatever that number is, all 200-300 of those people have a different perception of who you are. There are 200 different versions of you because of all these people's different perceptions of you.
Yes.
So the idea to get all of those people to look at you in one way is impossible. Which means, for me, I don't even seek to do that. I'm just doing what feels
natural,
right and what I'm supposed to be doing, right?
True.
So it's not really about doing it to please people. It's more so, again, I believe this lifely journey, this earthly journey it's duty. I was sitting here to do something. So even when I feel like shit, I still have a duty. When I feel great, perfect, but I still got a duty. And the duty shouldn't be swayed by the masses. It should be swayed by what's inside of you, the godliness that's put you on this path.
That's real. Dang. I don't even know what to say to follow up with that.
Unaffiliated podcast. Check us out. Every Friday, new episode.
Man, that hits deep. Just sitting there thinking about that. Because I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah, man, it's real. I think we spend so much Like Will Smith, I think Will Smith said this. We spend so much time trying to impress people who don't give a shit about us.
Yeah.
And think about how much time that takes out your life.
Too much.
And not you specifically, but just in general. Think about like how much people are like frantically seeking acceptance. Acceptance from who? And for what? What are you looking for acceptance for?
Yeah.
You're here to do something. Do that thing. Even if you haven't found that thing, be that person. Whatever, maybe sometimes it's not an actual job or occupation. Maybe it's just your essence, your energy, how you make people feel. Be that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And I think what I was thinking was, what was it? When you said validation, it made me think of acceptance with what is right in front of us. Because I know we had a cancel culture for a good little minute.
It's still here.
Oh, well. It's just not as known.
It's not real, but it's here. It's never been real, though.
But yeah.
It's just a bunch of people on the internet complaining.
Pretty much being sensitive.
Yeah.
And the thing of it is that, you know, we all are used to certain things. And now those certain things that we're used to have grown to something that is deemed inappropriate.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I'm going to use the example, you know, the cartoons.
Yeah.
They got rid of the guns from Elmer Fudd.
Okay.
Because they deemed it as inappropriate the way he was using them.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at it now, like, people are learning more about guns from just seeing them than TV.
Mm-hmm.
So you're canceling something and expecting something to follow, and it's coming in as a negative way, when all actuality it could have just been left alone and it could have worked itself out.
That's a tough one, because the whole thing with the cartoons is these are kids, right?
Right.
And most people are under the belief that kids are basically being programmed at that age. That what they're exposed to is how they're seeing the world, right?
Right.
And some of the Looney Tunes shit, from the 40s all the way up to the newer ones, they definitely teetered across that edge with cigars, alcohol. Pepe Le Pew was like a fucking
Rapist.
I don't say that word.
Oh, okay.
They'll ban you on the internet.
Oh,
so
dude.
don't say that word. But harassment, he was a harasser for sure. So it's like there were a lot of themes that are questionable as hell. Like, so I don't necessarily, I'm not against that, but yeah, I don't know. I do think what kids are exposed to is incredibly important.
Yeah, but you know, we got exposed as kids to way worse innuendos, where they actually subliminally hid this stuff.
Yeah.
Now it's just more open.
Oh, well, I'll talk about it. Say it with your chest. What are you talking about?
Like, okay, how do I put it? We can go all the way back to the 80s and 90s, and they showed so many innuendos towards sexual and drugs and guns and race and this and that, and it was all hidden, but you had to be older to see it.
Okay, I get what you're saying, yeah.
But now I think I was watching the new Looney Tunes, and lack of better terms, they had a whole episode where the Looney Tunes had a future moment where they saw themselves as they got older. You know, Daffy Duck was an alcoholic, Bugs was a crackhead, you know, Porky Pig was some drug addict.
HBO version, nigga?
No, this was literally Baby Looney Tunes.
Alright.
This was Baby Looney Tunes, a children's show where they just had a dream during nap time and it showed their future self.
See, that's the line that's hard though, because like you said, all these things were present in the past, but only the adults could pick up on it.
Right.
I do understand the importance of being able to create a line of communication with your kids about certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's the objective, cool, but it has to be done properly. So it really depends on the objective.
That is true. And the teaching.
And how you do it, yeah, for sure.
And you ever seen the annoying orange?
No. Well, with the face, the orange with the face?
Yeah.
I've seen that.
I literally have to go on my son's tablet and wipe that
Is
off.
that still a thing?
That is still a thing.
Oh shit.
No, that's still a thing.
Alright.
So I have to go
Shout outs to the annoying orange.
But I seriously have to go through and swipe it because some of the things that he says are a little bit teeter-totter. And I personally just, from what I grew up with, don't want him to see that and expect to go towards that.
And I think that's another important point you brought up. I do think it also comes into parenting, right? So I'm of the belief, like I believe that, and we'll take it to bullying, right?
Right.
I'm of the belief you will never get rid of all of the bullies. So people whose life mission is to just eradicate bullies, that's a failing mission. It will never happen. Even if you do that, there will be a new bully.
Yes.
So the goal is really how do you equip the quote-unquote victim or the person being affected by it to get over that or to triumph over that. And I think a lot of people are expecting other things to raise their children in certain aspects where at some point you just need to jump in and equip this person with how to see that thing, and hopefully they still respond in a positive manner.
Yes. Actually, that is hitting it right on the nail, pretty much.
Yeah.
But, you know, I have learned something, though.
What's that?
That even though you get rid of one bully, that victim eventually becomes the bully.
A lot of times.
It's like, not to quote Batman, but I'm finna do it anyway.
Shout out to Batman.
You might be the hero, but eventually you will be the villain.
If you live long enough, you'll become the villain.
Yes.
And you know what I think that quote really means? Because I hear that quote a lot.
What's that?
I don't think it's as literal as people think it is. I think it's, and maybe this is a journey I've been through, if you live it long enough to be the hero and you know you're the hero, eventually you'll start to find flaws within yourself. And then all these outside influences and your own thought processes, taking into account all these influences, you're going to start convincing yourself you're a villain. But at the end of the day, we're all just human. We are heroes and villains.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. At a certain point, you start seeing flaws within yourself the older you get. And then automatically, if it's like a fucked up flaw or something that you think you shouldn't have, you feel like you're a villain. But it's just the human experience.
But I mean, well, that is true.
And don't get me wrong, I mean, if you're doing crazy stuff, like that's crazy, right? But for a lot of people, it's just like, damn, damn, I didn't know I reacted like this in this situation. I didn't know, or this thing I'm doing that's non-traditional, it's gotta be bad, right? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think if you live long enough, you start to see those inner traumas, and once you see that, now you think you can't be that hero now.
Right. Right.